Let's go live now to the Employment Minister, Stuart Robert. What's your take on the Opposition Leader's suggestion that the minimum wage should increase at the rate of inflation so that people don't fall further behind, Minister?
The problem, Kieran, when you have no economic plan like Mr Albanese, you just make it up as you go along. And when you make it up, you stuff it up. Now, either Mr Albanese has made a dangerous incursion into the issue of wages where no other leader or opposition leader has gone before, or it's just another one of these stumbles because he's not prepared and doesn't understand the economy. Even Mr Shorten made the point when he's argued previously, he asked for sustainable, stable, reasonable increases. But the idea of putting a figure on what the Fair Work Commission should do, an impartial external body, is unprecedented in terms of the modern way in which the award weights are set.
Now, this call that he's made, though, there is the caveat that he says it would be the Fair Work Commission that makes the judgment, that this would simply be the government of the day, if he wins, making a submission supportive of an increase to the minimum wage. But the independent umpire, at the end of the day, will make that judgment.
Well, respectfully, Kieran, he actually said that what he wanted to see was the minimum wage move by 5.1%. How did he come up with 5.1%? Is it because it's the annualised inflation from the March quarter? What if inflation goes up and down? Does he change his mind? Does he extend that across other areas of the economy? Does Mr Albanese have any idea about the flow-on effect into casualisation, into the awards, into enterprise bargaining structures, and what that looks like? Does he intend to move that across the public service? Does Mr Albanese have any idea about loose remarks and impact on the stock market, as your previous guest was just speaking through? This is the problem with no economic plan. This is the problem with Albanese thought bubbles, Kieran. They are, quite frankly, economically dangerous, and Mr Albanese is simply not prepared to lead our country in some very, very challenging times.
The minimum wage is $20.33 an hour. A 5% increase would be $1. Is that sort of seismic impact to lift the minimum wage to $21.37 is effectively what it would do?
The reason we have the Fair Work Commission as the independent umpire is they take stock of everything in the economy. They take submissions from Treasury, indeed submissions from my own department, that doesn't provide a recommendation, that provides data, facts, impacts across the economy, provides key metrics to which they can make a decision. As you know, the Fair Work Commission made their last determination mid-June last year at about a 2.5% increase, cognizant of all of these inputs. That's their job. They're an independent umpire. They set this annually. The idea that Mr Albanese would just make a figure up based on what an annualised rate was from the last March quarter is frankly extraordinary.
But he did say he'd leave it to the Fair Work Commission, the independent umpire, to make the call. That's the fundamental point, though, isn't it? Regardless of the ambition of any submission made by the government, it's the independent umpire that makes that call.
Oh, Mr Albanese always cleans up the stumbles he makes, Kieran. He always starts by not knowing the number, or not knowing the process, or not knowing his own plan, and then refers to his notes or someone holding a large sign behind, and then he tries to get to the responsible answer at the end. The problem is that the sort of leader we want to lead our country? It's some economically, and when it comes to national security, challenging times. And I think the answer, quite frankly, is no. Does anyone really believe Mr Albanese is up to this job when he's out there thinking he can determine and tell the Fair Work Commission what the rate rise should be in terms of the minimum wage, but then finally stumbles through on the second and third question?
Do you think those on the minimum wage should get, do you think it'd be the ideal world to see them get an extra $1 an hour? Would you like to see that happen at some point?
We'd like to see the Fair Work Commission do their job, as they have done for many, many years, taking stock of the very complex factors that go into the setting, not just of the minimum wage, but how that flows into other areas in our economy. The Reserve Bank Governor has made the point he expects to see the wage price index move to a 3 in front of it. And of course, the national accounts through the average earnings demonstrate a slightly higher amount when bonuses and the like come through. The economy works well when every organisation and bit of it does their job. The Reserve Bank does their job, the Fair Work Commission does their job, and fiscally, so does the government. We'd all like to see each part of a world-leading economy like Australia do their job free of the interference that clearly Mr Albanese intends to bring.
Employment Minister Stuart Robert, appreciate your time. Thanks.
Great to talk to you, Kieran.